It's not copyrighted if you sing it yourself, so just hum what you're listening to in your mic. Beatbox it, Nick. Take it
I'm
back.
not going Bismarcky on you today.
All right, looks like we should be streaming on both, verifying. Looks good. So we are live and on the air. Twitch and YouTube are both streaming, so welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It is a halfway through the week point. So it's a nice Wednesday afternoon, and we're here mainly to provide you with support and answer any questions about our products and services. Of course, if you have any of those, feel free to jump over to foolishtechshow.com. If you're not already there, we have a couple places you can join our IRC chat and talk to us directly. Do we want to go ahead and make the announcement on the show that we're working on this newsletter for? Whoa, zooming in there, Proctor.
Sorry.
I think we should, just for the show.
I wouldn't.
I think
You
I
would?
think the banner's being projected on your shirt.
Yeah, I know. I like it.
Okay.
So, well then, I guess we'll have you wait for the newsletter. So if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, definitely do that, and you'll be getting one soon. So otherwise, how is everyone doing today?
Doing well.
Just stay back there.
Excellent. Phoenix has got a lot of links for us to start off with here. Wanted to go ahead and mention that we did release an updated version for CryptoPrevent beta yesterday. So if you haven't gotten a chance to test it out or check it out, we're feeling that build is pretty solid. So definitely check it out and give us your opinions on it. It will be version 7.8.4.19, and you can get it there. And definitely let us know if you see any issues or have any problems with it, and we're feeling like you probably won't at this point. So check it out and let us know. If you have a current copy and it's at least version 0.17, it should automatically update next time you open the interface. And Phoenix asked what's new in the update. There is a totally updated malware definitions. So the hash definitions have been fully updated and revised, and we even have a new expanded definition set that you can enable under the updates tab, and provides you with, what was it, 65,000, I think, Nick?
57.
57,000 for the expanded, and
Yeah,
around.
the original was 48. The original was, no, I'm sorry. The original total was that the CryptoPrevent 7 is using is 40. It's almost 44,000. Michael's research added bumped that up to about 48, and we've got 57 with the expanded set that we just added.
Sweet. So we got a ton more hash definitions in there, and there actually be
more to come. That's actually some tests. So, but there's a lot more to come, we think.
Sweet. Then we also fixed a couple issues. There was an issue with the add remove programs version number not getting updated. We fixed that. And also there was a DLL issue with kill 'em all that you may have gotten a runtime error 110,000 access violation. And that should be corrected in this version as well. And we also did some formatting stuff, I guess, to make it easier for entering product keys. So probably not a big thing on that point, but it was added. And I didn't mention it on the fixed issues list, but I did add a couple updates to the honeypot detection stuff as well. So check those out. And again, check out everything out there and see what's going on and how it's working. So yeah, we'd love to hear the feedback on it. And again, we feel that build is pretty solid and don't know or haven't had any issues reported to us. So definitely, if you've run into any or find any, please let us know so we can get that included before release. Otherwise, it looks like Futures Tech Crew is in here. I wanted to go ahead and I know Futures Tech Sheree isn't in here, but y'all can probably pass it along. Wow on the Halt and Catch Fire two episode finale last night. Amazing. And they did take it exactly where I thought. They've gone into the World Wide Web is going to be their next season, it seems like. So super excited about that. That Michael, your microphone. Super excited about that. That show is awesome, and it seems like it's only getting better. The first episode of the season finale had some kind of drama parts that I'm not too fond of, but overall, just amazing wrap up to an amazing season. So, and I highly recommend anyone that hasn't watched *Halt and Catch Fire* to check it out because it is a awesome IT related semi-drama show. So focuses on a lot of the major events in computing history. So, and they kind of dramatize it nicely. So cool. Yeah, check that out. Let's see what all the links that Phoenix has provided us here. Researchers demonstrate how the NSA broke trillions of encrypted connections. So I'll copy and paste that for anyone that might have missed it. BlockChain.info domain hijacked. Site went down 8 million Bitcoin while it's inaccessible. So that's definitely a security flaw in the Bitcoin setup. And encrypted communications could have a undetectable backdoor for 1024-bit keys. And I didn't have the time to read all of these prior to the show, so just reposting and reading what the titles say here, but some of them sound pretty interesting. Amazon finds cache of reused passwords. Change yours now. What does that mean exactly? Phoenix, did you read those and maybe tell us a little bit more about that one? I'm kind of interested in it.
It sounds like these are just passwords to other sites that apparently were valid for sites that they weren't plundered from, I would imagine. But I haven't read it either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, we've said before, don't reuse your same password. And, when sites are compromised, it effectively means that every place you've used that password, you should consider to be compromised. And you should, obviously
change your password.
Change those, yes.
And highly recommend checking out our previous show. Let's see if I can get a link to that, where we went over KeePass. Definitely a great password manager and will help you prevent using the same password on all of them, as well as being able to easily change them and keep track of them while only having to remember one password. So I'll get you the link to that episode. It was just a couple of weeks ago, so not too far back. And the next one, I actually heard some mixed things on this one. He posted about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram share data with location-based social media surveillance startup. I had heard they actually went back and disabled that access, so maybe that's something going on there. But definitely more to look into. And maybe it was because I was reading and it may be related. I was reading another article. I might have a copy of it. I don't have it right offhand though. That police have been using social media to track protesters and dissidents in the society, I guess. So just be wary that if you're posting location data on social media, it's not very recommended. I mean, besides the fact of being tracked and surveilled by government authorities, criminals use that very often to know when you go out of town and that your house is completely open and available. So I do not recommend using location-based data at any point in time on social media unless you have it severely locked down, and even then I still wouldn't recommend it. Proctor, I'm looking at you tagging me everywhere that we go.
I'm
Did I
looking
tag
at
you?
him because I tell
You-
Facebook I've turned off all notifications, and I still get notifications when he goes to the gym. I'm like,
You're getting blown up all the time, man.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
one at 4 something this morning. Did
You
you
have
go to the
to.
gym at 4 something this morning?
No, I went to the gym. It was like 8:30 yesterday evening.
Oh, well,
I think on that one you have to go to Proctor's page and uncheck following or notifications on Proctor's.
I guess I got to do that to everybody I know.
I believe they do have it so that it automatically does that for people at times. I don't know why or
That's horrible.
reason, but yeah, it is horrible. So the KeePass show is this link, and Phoenix posted some more. Amazon has reset some customers' passwords and asked them to change them according to reports. Amazon says that during routine monitoring, it stumbled upon a set of email and passwords posted online. Amazon isn't the only online service to check for reused user credentials. Both Facebook and Netflix prowl the internet looking for username password combos to show up in the troves of leaked credentials. So that's actually pretty nice. I didn't know that some of the bigger media places were doing that. That's actually very proactive of them, and I congratulate them on that. Let's see what else we got. He had a few more links here. So Amazon Music Unlimited is actually a supposedly worthwhile service now. I know that prior to this unlimited announcement that finding songs on there was very slim and normally ended up with 30-second previews. So I'll have to test that out and see if it matches up to Google Play. I had Spotify, but honestly, Spotify is not worth it compared to Google Play for me. In my opinion, I feel like Spotify is a terribly designed app. We've seen how terribly designed it is with the CryptoPrevent protections in place. They do things completely non-standard, and you have to whitelist them basically to be able to use their Windows program. And honestly, their Android app is not much better. So not a big fan of Spotify. I would say that they're challenging Apple Music and Google Play, but Spotify is one of the big names out there as well. But let's see how they hold up and what licensing content they got access to now. So
Brantley, did you ever clarify on some of those original posts about the millions of communications, the NSA decrypted and all that stuff, and the related one? Did you?
No, what's that?
The details on that. Okay, so I've looked it over, and it appears as if so what's happened is that instead of using truly random primes, they're using a small, apparently a lot of the popular.
This is that thing. This is that thing that's been out for a couple years now.
Well, this is okay. So here's the deal. They specifically look at 1024-bit keys. Apparently, about 16 or less than 20% of all the websites, the vast majority of the websites out there, use 1024-bit keys. The thing is that that should take relatively forever to break, but because they had an idea on what the prime was, and they call it creating a backdoor with the prime, but it's really just sort of like pre-selecting a prime number to start from. right?
Yeah.
So what they did with these algorithms and with the keys that they had put out, or with all the stuff that they had put out, is they didn't. They used a small sampling or whatever of primes, and if you know the prime to begin with, it makes it a lot more easier to compute. And so they were able to, and what should have taken, forever to calculate, they were able to basically deploy a academic computing cluster with about 3,000 CPUs towards tackling this encryption issue, and in 2 months they were able to break it.
I'm guessing this is coming back up because websites are still doing that.
Well, yeah. So
this was news last year at around this exact same time.
The immediate solution, of course, is for them to use a 2024-bit or a 2048-bit key, or whatever. So, doing that, even with this type of exploit, it would still take, too long.
From what I understood when it first hit the wire, was the fact that they were using the same prime. Like they have the option to use any number of primes, and they all decided to use the same one.
Yeah, exactly. And
so it's not even like the 1024 is that bad off. It's just don't use the one that.
Well, apparently the thing is, apparently even with this type of quote unquote backdoor on the prime, with a 2048-bit key, it's still infeasible. It took them 2 months to do this on a 1024-bit key. It's going to take them like 60 million times as long to do it under the.
I completely agree. It's better to go with a larger and encryption.
That'll mitigate. So even if you don't know, they're suggesting that all of these algorithms publish or that they publish that it's verifiable, that they have a verifiably randomized prime, or that the seeds used to generate it or whatever. They want some basically proof that these things are not going to suffer from this. But anyway, so the way that the NSA ties in is they effectively the way that they described what they could do and what they saw from this attack, it looks like this is the way that they were doing it. And it sort of makes sense that the attack was effective in the past, up to a certain period of time, even as far back as 2010, people were suggesting moving away from the 1024-bit keys to stronger ones.
Let me go ahead and interrupt you with something really important here to let you know that I just confirmed our security certificate for our SSL encryption is using a RSA 2048 bits. So.
Yeah. And so there's still a large number of sites out there that do this, and a lot of VPNs too is an issue. A VPN.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So this is what you can do, and the fact that there's still sites out there, though, FBI can basically just see everything you're doing.
You actually have the option to get 4096 when you get a certificate. I don't see.
Well, yeah, the estimate is.
I forget why.
Decades before,
but
we can even become close to
possibly
attacking. Might have some caveat, but
yeah, I would imagine compatibility issues might come with using something that high. But either way, so our site's fine, and this is news that's just coming back up again.
Yeah, using current computing power, it would take 16 million times 2 months, basically. So 32 million months to calculate it, to break.
How many is that in years?
All right. So
why would you give us that in months?
Because that's how they. Oh, it's a long time. A million, more than a million years. Okay, so what is it? What did I say?
2,006, or I'm sorry, 2,666,666 years.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're talking about evolutionary timescales here. That is not going to be feasible to do with today's computing power. But it's interesting to think that they think that in as little as 2 or 3 decades in the future, something like that may be possible with the computing power.
Well, I think we mentioned it on the Monday show that although WPA2 is a highly secure protocol, and it takes a lot of computing power to break a encryption key that is of a significant length and has numbers, letters, symbols, and spaces. That with quantum computer just around the corner, that's probably going to almost immediately be easily broken with that kind of power. So
yeah, well, there's that, and I guess that's part of the estimate that that it's going to be that quickly. They're expecting.
What are
I
we
guess
going to move to after quantum computers come out? What are we going to move to for encryption?
quantum encryption.
The encryption algorithm.
Yeah, there are ways to.
So you're still talking about brute forcing, and depending on the encryption algorithm, there are different ways that you can get around a certain amount of that brute force while still brute forcing. So, like I was doing this with the whole encryption thing and the 256 AES and all that, and that like 128 was actually easier, or was actually tougher to crack than 256, even though 256 would take longer from a pure brute force standpoint. There are certain tricks that you could use in your algorithm of brute force that would make that faster even than the 128 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it really depends, it's not always a matter of straight up brute forcing.
But at the same time, the quantum computers is just going to make that, from what I understand, quadruply faster as anything out there right now. So like as soon as quantum computers become available, the power and speed of processing is going to essentially quadruple, because they have 4 bits instead of 2. Or is it 3 bits?
Might be considered 3, but
it's 3, but it was 3. It might be more now. I don't know.
It's still
but originally
3,
there was when I originally read about it, it was there was a third bit, which was the position between 1 and 0, the position between on and off.
It's not quite like that. It's like it's on and off and both at the same time.
Yeah.
Or between them. However.
Well, yeah, I don't know. So I don't know exactly how that works, but at the very least it would be.
I mean,
double.
Either way, you're not looking at it getting into the hands of hackers until it hits mainstream, basically. So it's still a little ways off. It's just it's going to be a concern in less years than it would take to crack what's currently out there now. So, and keep in mind though that all of this data can still be sniffed just as easily and cracked later. So government or nation states are currently recording encrypted traffic just for the fact of when they have the computing power to break the encryption, that they can go back and read all of that information. So keep that in mind. Best way to stay safe is to not say anything. So got a couple other ones here. Google and Facebook are building a super high-speed cable between LA and Hong Kong. I think this has been going on for a little while as well. I know it's been at least this past year that this has been going on. And StrongPity malware infects users through illegitimate WinRAR and TrueCrypt installers. I guess this relates back to that some encryption software that you had mentioned yesterday was coming with malware. So interesting stuff there. And he just posted another one about NSA paid $10 million bribe to RSA circa 2013. I'm guessing to put in some sort of backdoors or something of that nature. So cool stuff. Thank you, Phoenix, for all those options and links there. Always good to look into. Speaking of movies, I went and I've been on a Michael Crichton movie kick lately.
Crichton, but yeah.
Crichton.
Crichton.
Michael posted the NSA link. Sorry. Anyway, the Jurassic Park author, Congo author, Sphere author, and Westworld author. Been checking out some of his other movies that came out since I did not know about Westworld and Future World, and those were two pretty awesome things. And the latest one I watched was the Andromeda Strain, and that was pretty dang good. I did not watch the 2008 made-for-TV remake. What's that?
No, that one was horrible. The original was good.
Yeah, the original was pretty
Oh,
good.
I was kind of long. I went back and I rewatched it. Like the first time I watched it, it was awesome, and I went back and I rewatched it, and I was like, gosh.
That's why I didn't even watch the 2008 remake. Like I skimmed through it and I was like, this is exactly the same movie. I don't think I can make it through again. Because actually, it took me 2 nights to watch the first one because I fell asleep during it. And then the second night I watched it, Johnny came out and was like, or I was telling her about how cool it was after it was over, and she was like, "Was that movie that had the baby crying the entire time and kept me up all night last night?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the one." But that's what saved it from the Andromeda strain, so it's a good thing. But yeah, it was a really good movie, and I have some other ones lined up. Terminal Man and Runaway, I believe, are some other ones I was going to check out. And
some of those are not are okay. I mean, as far as his books were probably better than some of those movies, but
yeah, well, I mean, a lot of them. I mean, that's how
it usually is. Yeah.
terrible things go. Is the fact that authors aren't writing for movies, so the movie adaptations don't really bring out what the author wanted to portray. And I really wish books would go by the sideline and authors would start writing for movies instead, because then we'd have a lot better movies, and that's the medium of the future, not books.
It's very hard to tell a complete to share a complete novel in a script form.
I know. That's why all these book authors are freaking lazy and just writing books instead of doing something that's worth it.
For instance, like all the Lord of the Rings movies were, close to 3 hours long, and they still, you'll note any Tolkien fan say that there's a ton of stuff missing from those things. And
yeah, but out of those, there was very little really relevant stuff missing. Like,
well, it depends on your perspective. I mean, some people.
Actually, you know what? The Hobbit cartoon was almost identical to the book. The Hobbit movie was not, because they kind of added some flair to it, but.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, that wasn't done too well. But anyway, I don't want to.
Is someone's phone ringing?
No, not me.
Phoenix said, "Michael, pick up your phone." I'm guessing that was Proctor. You had your.
It's got to be Proctor. It's not me.
Yeah, I received a call from Katie.
Yeah, it must have come over the stream. We didn't hear it. Sorry about that, guys. Otherwise, yeah, some of the other movies I'm going to check out are Disclosure, The 13th Warrior. I wanted to find Purge, I believe it was. No, Pursuit. But I couldn't find that one available for me to get anywhere, so I'll have to keep looking. But yeah, there's some other interesting ones out there, and there's one other one that had Wesley Snipes in it, and the James Bond guy, Sean Connery, in it. I forget what that one was called, but I'd seen that one before, but I was going to go back and watch it again since I didn't know that was actually a Crichton thing as well. Phoenix posts that Verizon wants you to know that its Google Pixel phones will get immediate Android updates. I would like to note that even though they say that, Verizon does have the last say over if those updates get pushed out to Pixel phones purchased directly from Verizon versus ones that you purchase directly from the Play Store will have actual immediate updates upon Google's approval, not waiting on Verizon's approval. And although Verizon does fairly well on their updates when they want to, it sometimes comes down to do they want to support that phone anymore? So I would still be wary about getting it directly from Verizon. He also posted that Yahoo adds a security event tracking to its account info page, but still no delete button. Yeah, they're just not doing very good at all. Like, now you're just gonna have security tracking to know how your account's been compromised. And then
Oh,
go ahead.
oh, okay. Did you talk about the CCTV article yet? I may have. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying too close attention.
Which one?
So we were talking about the IoT
Internet of
devices.
Things. Yep.
IoT devices that were used to attack, the corrupt site and the other things out there. The massive, the large volume terabyte data attacks are being launched by massive botnets, and a lot of times they're IoT devices. Well, anyway, AV Tech is a Taiwanese company that manufactures CCTV equipment, and apparently a security researcher has found a flaw in every one of their products that allows basically a remote takeover. And there is currently 130,000 of these devices available online for sale. Apparently, on it's Taiwanese, so it's largely, I guess, an Asian consumption of this. But yeah, they're not going to fix it. So, and they suffer from at least 14 critical bugs.
Well, on that note, I'd like to say that I was having my IoT devices circumvent my Pi hole, and I recently went back and changed that and have all of my IoT devices going through my Pi hole, and I'm currently curating and blacklisting addresses that I don't think they should be accessing, and so far they haven't broken because I've blacklisted any of these. But my Pi-hole internet blocking traffic went up from about averaging at about 10 to 15% of my daily traffic to now it's upwards of 45 to 50% of my daily internet traffic is being blocked by the Pi-hole. So thank you, Pi-hole, for that. I do not believe any of my devices would have been vulnerable to takeovers since they're not accessible outside of the internet, but I guess it's still a possibility. I am going to look into throwing DDWRT on all my ASUS routers and setting up VLANs and things like that in the sometime future. So, Phoenix,
with the ASUS firmware.
Check out.
not the VLAN tagging, but the ASUS's do make it very easy to put DDWRT on it. So
yeah,
they have they kind of have like a silent agreement possibly, but all of the ASUS's are fairly compatible with it. Yeah, I don't think VLANs are fun. It has not looked fun from what my researching is, but I think I got my head around it finally. And as far as how fast my Pi-hole is, it's pretty dang fast. I never see the processor usage spike over about 35-40% on the Pi 3.
Minimal.
The 100 megabit connection is working fine in it as well. I did the DNS test and it came back as
it should come back as Google, or even better if it's cached locally. If it can resolve it without going out, or whatever, that's gonna be incredibly fast. And yeah, it's not going to be a point for slowdown. I don't think it.
And I mean, I also have that set up as a host for a bit miner as well.
Yeah, it's multitasking. I do something else with my Pi-hole all day and all night as well. So
I have the Raspberry Pi 3 now for that one.
I have a Pi 2, which is considerably slower than the Pi 3. And mine's running just fine too. I imagine the Pi-hole would work fine even on like a Pi 0 or something.
So the only thing I did notice about the speed of it is if you're trying to access the admin interface and you have a significant amount of DNS requests, I think around 15,000, it starts to really make the interface crawl. And actually what I went in and did is just added a cron tab job to truncate that log every 6 hours, so it never really goes over that, and the admin interface is super speedy and snappy. I am actually thinking about moving it back to 8 hours or 12 hours just so I can have more data accessible. But yeah, I'm liking it a lot. It's working well and doing what I need to do. So mentioning the Bitcoin miner thing, and having Hurricane Matthew seems to have brought in the dead of cold and winter to us here in the southeastern, and winter to us is 70 degrees or lower. It is fun to note that I have not had to turn my heat on yet because I have a Bitcoin miner here in my office, and at the other end of our house I have a bigger Bitcoin miner, so that's actually heating our house currently. I turned off the AC unit that it was cooling down that room with, and it's actually heating 3 rooms in the back of our house and partially heating Johnny's room or office now as well. So that's pretty awesome. And what else we got, Michael? What were you gonna, what was the vulnerability matrix? Is that?
Oh, just look at the number one thing on that list, by the way. I just thought, and it basically shows you the models that are effective, that are confirmed effective, but it's effectively every one of their products, and you know, the vulnerabilities are severe. Plain text passwords, for instance.
I must have skipped over the Samsung thing, but yeah, Samsung is not only recalling all of the Galaxy Note 7s and going to cost them a couple $1 billion, but they're also sending some ridiculous like packaging to return your Samsung Galaxy Note 7s. Like you get a pair of gloves to handle the phone, and then a fireproof box that goes inside of a shipping box, as well as a static case to put the phone in. So they are going all out on the safety side of that thing.
That sounds expensive.
Yeah, definitely. If you have a Galaxy Note 7, turn it off. There's actually another article. I'll see if I can find it here in a minute, but another article saying that apparently there's a loophole in the consumer safety law where the company has to approve the American Consumerist Association making an announcement about products and how they feel about them for safety purposes. Like the company that makes that product has to say, yeah, we approve of this message before they can actually go out and say, hey, don't use this product, it's dangerous for you, it might set your house on fire. Anyway, let's see if I can find that stuff, because that was pretty interesting to me.
Well, I just read an article that says that the Note 7 fiasco could cost Samsung $17 billion.
Oh wow, so yeah, that was
It's a
way
big
higher.
hole in your pocket.
Yeah, way higher than the couple billion I thought. Well, here's one link that I had mentioned I had found. So this is a thing about Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter blocking a tool for cops to surveil on you with social media. I'm not sure if it relates to that Hacker News one that Phoenix had posted about them providing data to a place like that, but let's see if I can find it here, because it was pretty interesting. All right, those are all older ones, so it must be back this way. Michael, while I look for these, do you want to mention that insane FBI game that you showed me?
Oh, yeah. So, all right.
There's the law about the consumers thing.
Oh, cool. So, apparently, and I really have no idea why this exists, but let's see. I sent this to you last night, didn't I?
Yeah. There's the one about the fireproof boxes and stuff.
Oh boy. But it's basically this FBI thing that it looks like it was a game designed. I don't know what it was designed for, but it's basically the sheep that you basically dodge around rocks that are flying down. It's like a vertical scroller, and you try not to run into them, and you cross the finish line. After you cross the finish line, you get a quote unquote subliminal message that pops up on the bottom of the screen that's largely pro extremist. And can be called possibly radicalizing, or at least these would be the excuses people might use if they were justifying radicalization. And there's 6 levels to it. I don't know why it's there, who they think is going to be playing it. And
what was funny
a lot of
was
questions.
here I got the link for it here.
Oh, there it is. I got it too now. I just found it. Blame section 1. Yeah, state equals blame. Yeah. Do you? Here it is.
I got it. I already got the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did.
So what was funny about it was Michael was like, they got 6 levels. I didn't play the 6th level, and I was like, oh, don't worry about it. It only takes them 5 levels to hack into your computer and track you indefinitely from then on. He was like, oh, dang it! Why did you have to tell me that?
But again, I just question, first of all, how much money went into this game, what its purpose is, and give me a random purpose that it's supposed to do right now, and every one of them sounds completely. What are they trying to train terrorists? What are they trying to catch terrorists? Either way, it's not going to work. And so I question I question everything about it. And please tell me what you guys think. Am I just overreacting, or is this completely normal?
I didn't even play the game. I think it's ridiculous. I agree. I feel like it was probably a waste of taxpayer money at the least. Past that, it may be subliminal messaging. It may be
the FBI is a sponsor of terror. I mean, what does this say?
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
It's called slippery slope, and I think it's supposed to educate people about violent extremism, but I really don't think that method is the way to educate people on it. Just directly exposing them to it. It's not right.
Yeah. On the other side, I said, well, how about you try this game instead, Michael, where it's called Mr. President, and it asks players to save Ronald Rump from assassination. And you have the choice of saving him or not saving him if you want to see what happens there, from what I understand. So check that one out if you don't want to look at the FBI one, because like I told Michael, I was not going to try that on my computer because I don't want to be tracked. Something else I found interesting. Apparently, the U.S. military is looking at blockchain security or technology to secure nuclear weapons. So apparently they were not fond of people pointing out their 8-inch floppy disk nuclear code storage. So they're looking at new technologies to replace that. And I thought this was pretty big news, although I'm not sure I'm going to invest in one. But Western Digital has come out with consumer SSD drives, full 2.5 form factor as well as M2.
M2, yeah. These are pretty standard devices. They use a reasonably decent controller. There's nothing really downside about them, but they're not class leading. They're not exploiting the bandwidth improvements of M2. They're still effectively SATA drives.
I see they're using the blue and green and
they're using the blue and green names, and as you know, the blue and green lines are not their highest performing lines, which is a little bit weird. Usually when people market the SSDs, they usually have an enthusiast line that they're pushing along with it, and that may come later, I don't know, but right now they're just pushing the the mainstream consumers, but very cheap, very inexpensive, so that's good if they can bring the price down further with these, and reasonably good performance, although I would argue against getting the lower capacity ones, as their performance is quite a step behind what most of us are probably used to today with larger capacity SSDs. But I'd still like to see what they offer for their.
So in that article, it says the blue solid state drives come in 250, 500, and 1 terabyte, and as a higher performance line available globally to select customers. And their lower powered green SSDs only come in 120 and 240 gigs.
Yeah.
And will have a more limited release later this quarter in certain regions. So it looks like they're taking their time transitioning into that. So
Yeah, all traditional hard drive manufacturers have been very relatively, at least, slow to adopt SSD and flash technology. They've had some hybrid drives, and a couple of them have a few offerings, but really you would have expected seen them jump on board pretty quickly with it. I would have imagined instead of taking it as a threat to them, but I would guess the price parity thing we talked about recently, the fact that
yeah, that's forcing them to take it on.
yeah, it's forcing them to take it on, but I would have imagined these large guys would have had the foresight to have done this a little bit more quickly than, oh, what is it, October 2016? But anyway.
Yeah, like SSD, I think it said in that article even, was like out since 2008, and they're just now coming to
Yeah,
terms with it. But I mean, I can see like I was saying yesterday, the fact that it takes more people consuming the device to get more people producing the device to get prices to come down even further and technology to improve a lot more. And you have to look at it from their perspective. Hard drives were still selling just fine. Their price point was still better off for the consumer, so they were still fine. Why invest in what would have to be an entirely new technology, entirely new manufacturing plants, everything, to go to this newer version when what they have currently is working fine, and they'll have the revenue stream to continue and invest in it at any given point in time once the market's out and we see what's come out of it. That's kind of one of the interesting things about technology, is sometimes it's actually better if you can sit back and wait and see which form factor and things that you want to invest in. So they might have been playing the better game all along, having these other memory companies test out form factors and chip styles and controllers and things like that. So Michael posted a space video of the day, and following that up, I'd like to mention that apparently the courts rejected a massive torrent damage claim. Admin avoids jail from that.
This was in Sweden, right?
Or
one of those Norwegian countries.
Let's see, the torrent. Yeah, it's Sweet Piracy. Wow, they didn't subtly name that at all.
No.
It became a target of many anti-piracy outfits in 2012.
Now the guy did get it's like 100 hours of community service and I think $187,000 some odd dollar fine. That, I mean, I actually think, I mean, it's reasonable. I mean, I just don't think that these damages that these companies are claiming are anywhere near realistic.
Demanding years in prison and millions in damages for running a site where he probably didn't provide any directly targeted stuff. It was probably just users of the site provided it to other users of the site. I honestly think that's like, why isn't Google being charged and arrested for these kind of things? Because you can find torrents on Google just as easy.
Because they have lobby groups that help protect their positions, but anyway,
the sites to find the other stuff easily with Google even. So
yeah, it's good to see though that the courts are taking these claims. They're not just listening, which is what too often happens here, I think, with the damages in this country. They're not looked into as reasonable, and
they're probably not paid off as easily.
Well, the fact that somebody can claim emotional suffering and the net worth of tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, just to me is, I'm upset every single day. Nobody gives me tens or hundreds of millions of dollars for that.
Yeah. You upset me, and you still haven't given me my tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I know, and to give that expectation or to believe that's a possibility
You
is
just admitted it, so now I can take you to civil court and get those damages from you. We got it on tape.
yeah.
Judge Proctor presiding.
Yeah. But again, this is just but some of these things are just the natural risk of dealing with what they're dealing with content distribution. It's these things, have always been around even before computers. This is not a new problem. They've always had to deal with this.
Yeah.
It's about profit, I guess, for them. But when you hear every year they say, oh, the new record breaker at the box office, new record breaker at the box office, new record breaker at the box office, every year over year over year over year. Why they need to even fight it the way they are is questionable.
Well, speaking of things that have been around for years, looks like Comcast has been fined by the FCC, one of the largest, I believe, civil and penalties assessed by the FCC for a cable operator for negative options billing
It's
practices.
called cramming. They in the industry they call it cramming. Basically tacking on additional services to clients, and they don't always haven't asked for them. So the person will just sweet talk you onto the phone, and you might have said no some other time or whatever, and they'll go ahead and sign you up for it.
Yeah, such as TV service, premium channels, set-top boxes, DVRs, various things that the complaints came about from. So definitely, I believe Nick posted a link to the FCC complaints in a previous show, and highly recommend utilizing that because apparently the FCC listens. I don't know how many.
Right here, in fact, they do listen. They're actually required to respond, or no, they when they receive the email from you, they contact the company, and the company is required to respond to them within 30 days.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the few positives from our government that I've seen.
Very.
That's very true, Quark. I wish there was some sort of protection against you on that, where they got a $2.3 million fine and your Comcast bill is probably going to go up now. So it's not like they're actually taking it out of their bonuses.
Yeah, I want
their customers probably.
I want an estimate on how much money they profited from doing this. A $2.3 million fine, or even a $23 million fine is probably chump change in comparison to what they pulled in as a result of doing that.
They're one of the billion-dollar companies, like billions of dollar companies a year.
Mm-hmm. So this is the thing, and we've talked about this before. It's cheaper. They actually plan this. They're like, okay, this is totally wrong what we're doing, but the fine is nowhere near as good as the profit we're going to make off of it. So why the hell should we care? And that type of mentality is wrong, and they should all choke on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've always thought those fines should be much stiffer.
Oh yeah, I mean, it should be double what they made. In other words, if they profited $100 million off of this, the fine should be $200 million.
The other side of that comes back to the lobbyist and being able to pay off the.
Yeah, but it's not a deterrent when the penalty for something is not a deterrent.
I understand that, Michael, but when you have the people that are actually doing the wrongdoing with the power to make changes to the laws and things, that's what you get. Is you get things that are slaps on the wrist, not what they should actually be.
And when's the last time you ever heard of a company admitting guilt to anything? I mean, has it been decades since the last company has admitted guilt for any problem?
I know. Calm down.
Like 50 years? I don't know.
Don't get all wadded up over there. Calm down. I would like to post an article, and I will have to advise against the graphic nature of this to start off with. but I feel like it's an important topic to talk about because essentially it shows the bad side of the power of the internet and access to information. So there was this posted, and apparently Reddit was the one that brought this video back up and decided they linked it to the
Oh, that's 7 years old
2000.
video.
Hold on. They decided they linked it to a disappearance in 2009, and they repeatedly bombarded the local police department about this and told them about this and tried to get them to act upon this. And the police department handled the situation very well. They did act upon it and found out about it, but essentially it was a completely staged video. And I watched the video and I could have told you that was a completely staged video. That was definitely not real life from what I could see. But the people that made the video uploaded it as kind of a joke and in bad taste, but they made an apology about it, and the police department is what I'd like to say really handled this situation well, because I mean, essentially you had a internet wildfire story that was completely and totally false, spread to millions of people. They got bombarded with this. They still checked into it extremely quickly, followed up on it extremely quickly, and provided the information with a fair amount of detail. So high regards go out to the Antigua Police Department for their work and effort on this, but this is something that was described in the HBO series Newsroom, where basically this is one of the downsides of relying on the internet for your news, is that you have unregulated sources, you don't have verified integrity, you don't have any of the things that you're supposedly supposed to get from real news sources such as print and television media. But it's very interesting story. I recommend checking it out. I wouldn't recommend checking out the video without you first knowing that it's completely fake. It's honestly not that graphic. It's just upsetting to watch if you believe that it might be real. And it is kind of scary to know that there is possibilities that things like that could be getting posted online and not even being noticed until 7 years later. Like, I mean, this took 7 years to become an internet wildfire story. So that video's been online for 7 years on YouTube with no issues. And it only recently, I think, got taken down. So very interesting sides of it, and I really wish that we could have more faith in our media integrity here, so we wouldn't have to rely on social media news. Because I will be the first to admit I read into social media news much more than I do into legitimate news broadcast and print media stuff. So what are y'all on that side of things? Do y'all listen to, Michael? I know you listen to the like actual news sources and things, right?
Not much anymore, but I do occasionally. I'm sorry, what was your question specifically?
I was saying I will go to social media and sites for news that aren't from verified journalist kind of things. So I would fall victim to these same type of things, although I try to not take a lot of it with a grain of salt.
So the regular media is becoming very socialized. So for instance, they'll be more likely in any given moment to be reporting on polls. Reporting on polls that are also not even terribly clarified and usually well biased. So, for instance, I'll give CNN as an example, but this goes across the board. It doesn't matter if you're in the conservative camp or not. But CNN, for instance, will do a poll about whether or not somebody won a debate or whether or not you're going to vote for the next, who you're going to vote for the next president, and they'll ask a group of people that are roughly 64 or plus percent liberal or registered Democrat, and show you the results. Now, clearly, that's a good little skew there in that direction, but they don't harp on that, and they'll show those results on the screen as if it's news, and they'll say this and this poll, or these pollsters or whatever, like these are sources of facts.
Essentially, you're kind of saying that maybe even verified journalist integrity has gone out the window anyway, and relating back to clickbait and
and there's no fact checking, with the news when somebody, and if it's done, it's after the fact. Okay, so you have the interview and there's no confrontation at all in the interview. You may ask the person twice. Oh wait, you didn't answer my question.
All right. Sit down.
And
we got it.
That's the extent of that. It's basically.
I think probably it all relates back to Ted Turner coming out with the 24-hour news channel.
Oh yeah, it's all Ted Turner's fault. He's
bringing that on. So we are at the end of our hour for today, though, so I will leave you on a little bit lighter, upbeat story than those two items. And this one is my favorite state in the U.S., Colorado, has turned beer waste into battery electrodes. So you can make beer and then recycle the waste essentially to have power. A beer-derived fuel cell even. Again, probably falls into the same category of news reporting that's not actually news verified reporting, but check it out, see what you think, and as always, do your own research and see how things go from there.
Yeah, I actually got duped by one of the Facebook news stories the other day. And it was a story that stated that Betty White had passed away at the age of 94.
Oh yeah, I've seen those go around a lot.
It was fictitious.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap up for today. Like we said, we got a newsletter we're working on, so keep an eye out for the important announcements coming from that. And hopefully everyone has had a good week so far and continues to have a great week. We will be back on the air tomorrow at 4 p.m. Again, we are here to provide support and answer any questions about our products and services primarily. But until then, we will see you tomorrow. Take us on out, Proctor.
All right.